All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and for some, good night. I have Kyle. Kyle, good evening to you. How are you?
Hey, very well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh man, pleasure. For those that don't know Kyle, Kyle is the whiz behind obviously what we're here to talk about, which is Big Trouble in Little China, and also Friday the 13th. Uh, Homebrew, huge topic of conversation. We'll get to that in a second. Kyle, I really appreciate the time. I know you must be still exhausted, even though Expo was a week ago.
Oh yeah, it was a whirlwind, but I'm back home. In fact, I just got the game upstairs today. It was downstairs for a couple of days, so I got it plugged in. No damage. So yeah,
Awesome.
ready to talk about it. Definitely rejuvenated.
Awesome. It's been a hectic. I see. How long have you been working on this for? Like a year,
A year and a half.
year and
So
a half?
I debuted Friday the 13th at Texas Pinball Fest in
Yep.
24. I got home exhausted. I got out my cocktail napkin and I started to sketch this one immediately. I had so much fun and I wanted to do it again.
Yeah, that I heard your story. I can't remember who I heard it, who I heard say it. This idea about this cocktail napkin,
Yeah.
and this I was like, really? And it's like, yeah, literally. I think you actually said to the guy, no, like it was actually a cocktail napkin.
Yeah.
Um, so for those that don't, I mean, I'd be really hard to believe that nobody knows Big Trouble Little China. It was one hell of a film with a concept that was very similar to like The Shadow. The Shadow had very similar kind of characters that were bad guys. It was like the Chinese guys and stuff like that. So really similar tone. But it was a movie that for nobody that's watched it, like one of my friends hasn't seen it, and I said go watch it, and I sent him just a photo of the movie poster, and he texts me at the end. He goes, "I did not expect any of that to happen." Like magic and creatures, and
Yeah.
he's like, "I just," and I he goes, "I always thought that like the hero was meant to be this like John Wick style character, but instead he's a little bit clumsy as well, right?"
He's a
So
moron.
yeah, he's just he's a
He is the
moron.
sidekick. He's a moron, but that's what makes the movie so endearing. It kind of plays on a lot of those tropes from other movies, and you don't expect that. So I think it turns some people off. To me, I just love it.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously with homebrew, it's great because there's no restrictions on license because you're not selling the game. You can ultimately make whatever you'd like. What made you go? Did you already know you wanted to do this while you were doing Friday 13th, or did you just go, I need a theme? What am I picking?
So I kind of grew up in the arcade and I grew up in the video store, right? So the movies that I gravitated towards were maybe movies that were off limits that I wasn't supposed to be seeing. Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, Reanimator. I just kind of love that stuff, and that's what I grew up around. So I did Friday the 13th in part because that license is so all over the map. You know, you've got somebody
Yeah.
who owns like somebody owns a likeness to Jason, somebody owns a title Friday the 13th. There's a new show coming out called Crystal Lake. It's not called Friday the 13th because of the
Yep.
weird licensing. So I knew that the way that I wanted to do it would probably nobody else could do it that way. I've got 12 movies and 2 video games. I mean, there's an 8-bit Nintendo mode in the game. So I debuted the game. It was had a great response. I had a great time. And when I knew I was going to do another game, I didn't want to do another horror game.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do something that was fairly not niche, but something that I connected with that translated well to pinball. Like what has monsters, kung fu, magic, one-liners, action, Big Trouble in Little China, right? So this to me was just the perfect pinball theme, and it didn't take me too long to figure this one out.
And I mean, the funny thing is, not only just the trailer alone did it look professional, but for everyone I've spoken to, because unfortunately I couldn't be there, I've spoken to a good handful of people, maybe a dozen people,
Yeah,
and they all said that if you had told someone that didn't know, they would have thought like a company made this, like
yeah.
the attention to detail, the build quality, the feel, the obviously the artwork, and I want to talk about that quickly. So you've got real like proper pinball people doing this game. So you've had proper artists doing it. You've had Scott Denisi doing the music. Was that challenging? Like, is that something that you were like, I need to do this properly?
No, in fact, that was probably one of the easier aspects of this game. So with my first game, I used a lot of off-the-shelf art,
Yep.
and I commissioned the art with another artist who wasn't really familiar with pinball, not a native English speaker. who had never done pinball before. So we kind of worked through that. With this game, I wanted it to look professional, and that's not a slight against anybody who's building their own game. So you don't want to use the term homebrew as like, oh, it just kind of looks like you made it in your garage.
Yeah.
I wanted the game to look like a factory game. So I knew what it took in order to make the game look good, but I also wanted to make the art pop a bit more. So I contacted Brian Allen to do the playfield. But before we even had an agreement, I said, look, is this a theme you're into? He's like, bro, are you kidding? I love that movie. Done. Contacted Randy Martinez, who did the art for Star Wars, Mandalorian, and John Wick. I said, hey, is this a theme you're into? He's like, bro, are you kidding? Great. So I had him on the topper and the art blades. Contacted Scott Denisi. I'm like, hey, man, I'm working on this game. Would you mind giving me a couple of custom songs? He's like, yeah, no problem. I was able to contact James Pax, who played Lightning in Big Trouble in Little China, and I asked him if he'd be keen to do some of the custom callouts. He's like, yeah, absolutely. So it was just a matter of asking. And I think it helped that I had a game that I had done. So I had demonstrated that I can actually bring this, not to market, but bring this out to public for people to enjoy. So it was a joy working with everybody who I collaborated with.
Well, the pinball resume is kind of the best way of credibility, right? It's like, look what I built, and now help me with the next one. Did you have like a lot of people always have reservations about using multiple artists on one game because of different styles of artwork?
Yeah.
I don't think that really exists on this because like you can't, because one of them did the playfield, but then the other did the art blades and the back glass, right?
So I had an artist on the back glass, I had an artist on the art blades and the topper, and an artist on the playfield, and the cabinet was the Pork Chop Express. So you're right.
Yeah.
Does it come together in a cohesive way? And I'll tell you, I did the best that I could with the budget that I had. I had to get a little creative because I'm not rich. I would love to have had kind of a more traditional collage style back glass, but I think what Michael Calandra did for the back glass was incredible. So I met him at a convention, and he does a lot of Game of Thrones art, but I commissioned this piece specifically for the game, and I knew I wanted Lopan front and center with the skull and the lightning. To have a collection of characters would have been awesome, but it would have been outside my budget. So the majority of my budget went to the playfield. But I also really like Randy's style, and I tried not to have it clash, and I tried to have it mesh as much as possible. So you got the Buddhas on the side with kind of a 3D Hall effect, and then the back panel is also the Buddhas. You've got James Pax as lightning as the topper. So I tried to integrate some of the lightning. You got lightning etched into the side trim. So again, yes, it's a lot of different artists, and sometimes those styles can clash, but I did the best that I could to make it all as cohesive as possible.
And look, I think it is definitely come together extremely well. In future, I think if you if budget's always an issue, you should just reach out. Like I would sponsor to help homebrew someone. Like literally, I was like, because we do in some of the work I do, sometimes people do reach out for sponsors to kind of help funding. And like to have your name associated with, it's a bit like, content creators or pinfluencers that have Patreon, right? They nominate their followers because at the end of the day, it's like, oh, I help them, do what they do. But yeah, look, so you've sent through some photos, and mate, the artwork is it ties in really well. I know this is the part of pinball that I always love seeing the concepts of like sticky tape and ramps. And did you borrow ramps and mechs from other games, or did you make the ramps? Get the ramps made?
I did. So with Friday the 13th, I had 2 ramps. One was from Kiss, Stern Kiss. The other one was from Terminator. This one I used the Medieval Madness ramp that I had kind of performed surgery on. So I altered it. I cut it about 25% off, and I added a new wire form there. So to me, this might be sacrilege, but like there are so many ramps out there, and they kind of do the same thing. You shoot up the left, you shoot up the right, there's a curb, and there you go. What I had in my mind, and the reason that I used the Medieval Madness ramp, was because before I ever put pen to paper, I knew that I wanted the skull as a centerpiece from the movie. So I knew that I wanted a ramp that shot around the skull. So I thought, well, what game kind of has a big mech centerpiece with a ramp that goes around? I'm like, oh, Medieval Madness. There you go. And it worked out perfectly. And I've got two 180 ramps, and it's essentially just kind of a generic reverse scoot or a reverse ramp that I took from Alien. So I used the pop-up troll mech from Medieval Madness. I got some stuff from Alien. The center kickback is from Medusa, one of my favorite games. And then I got some parts and pieces, and I do have some custom lane guides that I made myself. So it's kind of a combination of a lot of different things.
And that's the first thing I noticed was, oh my God, inline drops. I love inline drops.
Oh, likewise. I love them. Yeah.
I know, right? Like, I think games should have like 2 or 3 of them. Sets. The Medieval Madness homage to the troll popping up, and then the Medusa as well. And then there's the magnet near the flipper as well that holds, which was, I think we were speaking last night about it, which is in roller games. I always forget the name. Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, look, I always say to people, they always comment on, like, that game's got similar stuff to that game. It's like, well, there's only so much real estate on a playfield, right? And it's inevitable that games are always going to have very similar shots at some point. I am a sucker for plastic ramps. I think plastic ramps just scream nostalgia, and I'm just a huge nostalgia freak. So when I saw that plastic ramp, it actually felt like a 90s game. And I have a thing with 90s games where I just think they've got so much more character and soul than modern games these days. They're not as deep. I fully get that. But they're just a soul about them when you play them. Like, one of my favorites is Johnny Mnemonic, and it just feels like I'm in the movie, right? Yeah. And I got this from even though I haven't played it, and mind you, a lot of people didn't get to play it because the queues were massive. So, just looking at it, it gave me a sense of nostalgia. And the plastic ramps, I think, are just a great asset to have. Under the skull, there's a U-shot, right? Which is very similar to what I've seen in things like Labyrinth and Rick and Morty and stuff like that. You're obviously a fan of that type of shot.
So I do love horseshoe shots, right? And I love shots that whip around and come back at you. I hate being punished with a clean shot. So I don't like, you hit an orbit and it goes straight down the middle, or you hit a horseshoe, goes straight down the middle. So what I did add was a left kickback, a center kickback, and a right swing gate. So if you drain, it's your fault. You have the capability to fight back with every place to drain. And the reason that I put the magnet on the right, and I had never played roller games, was I have a complete orbit shot that goes right around, and that shot from the upper flipper to that left reverse ramp was hard. I'm like, holy crap, I can't hit this consistently. So I added that magnet to catch it. So hold it in place for about 2 seconds, long enough for the player to set it up, and you can hit the drops, the ramp, or that horseshoe scoop. So there's really a bunch of different options from that upper flipper, and the shot from the upper flipper to that horseshoe loop is my favorite shot in the game by far.
So I've got some. So these are some of the photos that Kyle sent through, guys, that just shows the conception and the layout. Because when there's so much going on, like when I saw the trailer, I was pausing it, and I'm like, all right, where does the ball go? Like, where are the shots going? And this, I think, gives you a really cool. Has it changed much from this? I know the troll location is not in the middle anymore.
Yeah, so I will go through 4 playfields when I talk like I'm super experienced. I made 2 games, but with Friday 13th and Big Trouble, I go through 4 playfields. The first one is a free-for-all. You drill, glue, burn, scrape, saw, do whatever you can just to get the idea or the flow of the shots. The second playfield will have the inserts, and those shots have been refined. The third playfield will be even more refined, and at that point, the art, I'll put a decal. So I had my third playfield at Expo to kind of show, hey, this was the prototype, to show you what the shots look like with the art, because the shot and the art should be cohesive, right? You should tell the player where to shoot with the sound, with the music, with the screen, with the art, and with the insert, right? So all of those things work together in the brain of the player to know where you're going to hit. So a lot of things moved around. So you see there's a pop bumper there that I originally had, which was fun, but it wasn't necessarily interactive. Like, you would hit it and it would come back. So I said, what else can I do with it? So instead of the pop bumper, I added a drop target, optos, a VUC, a wire form, and then the skull. So it was a lot more fun. The center bash toy, I moved to the upper right, and it was kind of a happy accident because it happened to be in the hand of the wild man, the kind of werewolf looking guy. So he's holding that, and then that's where it pops up. I just didn't want this to be like a direct center shooting game. So you've already got that, Vuck in the center. You've got a center drop target. So I just kind of moved the pop-up toy to the right.
Yeah, and man, there's so much going on in it. It's let's see if I can share. Trying to share is this one is a little bit. Oh, one sec. There you go.
Yeah, this is another prototype. So some of the wires and stuff are still all over the place.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And to your point about the 90s, there are some things, and they're like the star rollovers. Like I love those. Those are super cool. So that's kind of what I was going for, was a game that looked like it may have been made in the 90s, but with kind of a modern aesthetic, the modern art, and then the screen, the light shows, and all that kind of stuff. So I do like those games as well.
Yeah, it's just something like, as much as all the modern stuff is great. I mean, I'm not a great player. I tell everyone on the channel all the time.
Same.
So the code, the deepness of a game is irrelevant to me. Like, I love playing Shadow, Tron, Creature, Dirty Harry, those type of, like, and yes, predominantly a lot of them are movie based of some sort. But it's because I connect to those, right? And I feel like I'm part of that universe. So this is one of my, I mean, I've got a movie poster that's signed of this film. So like, for me, as soon as I saw the trailer, at first I didn't realize that it was like a homebrew, and I was like excited. I was like, who's making this? So, and there's no question. I mean, if it was to get picked up by someone, and I'm sure people will always ask that question, and they made 1,000 of them, it would sell out, because it's just a theme that a lot of people has asked for, and a lot of people know, and a lot of people, I guess when a company is rumored to be doing a theme, we don't know what it's going to have and going to look like. We can only go, that's going to be great. You've done it the other way, where you've come out of nowhere and showed it completed. So we don't have to think, right? We just want it.
A theme like this, let's say you're in the boardroom of a major pinball manufacturer and you float a theme like this, it's not going to land, because, well, it's a niche movie, it came out in the 80s, nobody cares about it. You don't know what it is until you see it. So this is an anecdotal story. It's not true, but it kind of demonstrates a point. Somebody asked Henry Ford, well, what was your market research before you built the automobile? And he said, well, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said, I want a faster horse. People don't necessarily know what it is until they see it. You see it and you go, oh. And the response that I got at Expo from fellow fans, right? Because we all, they're kind of core demographic of players who really enjoy this movie, just really responded to this game. And it kind of goes to show the power of a theme. And I've heard some folks talk about, movies and licenses. Oh, I don't want to make that license because that's not a very good movie. And I think they're kind of missing the point. It's not about how good or bad a movie is. It's about how it made you feel, about how a license makes you feel. So whether the band or the movie or the show was great or it doesn't kind of hold up, it's about bringing those moments to the player, and you're interacting with those moments. And that's what's so cool about pinball, right? These are the moments that you remember and you're actually part of it. And I love it. I love it.
And I think that's the key to, and I've said it before on the channel, so our regular viewers will get sick of me saying this. I think for me, the key to successful pinball, and it's very adamant with things like Spooky and Barrels of Fun, is the boutique, leveraging nostalgia and memories. Because let's face it, I'm 41, and a lot of the stuff that is nostalgic is stuff that pinball players between 40 and 60 can relate to. And I think, any theme that is around 80s and 90s is always going to be a hit. There was a lot of people that critiqued Barrels for choosing Labyrinth, because, that classic, nobody asked for Labyrinth. Well, out of the pinball community, which isn't a big community, but on a global scale, I'm sure there's 1,000 people out there that love pinball, but also love Labyrinth, right? So maybe there's some of those people that can't afford one, but at the end of the day, they will eventually get one, whether it's secondhand or not. I think any theme, personally, is a theme that can be done. things like Fifth Element, Blade Runner, Rambo, Commando, even I don't know if you remember the film American Ninja.
I do.
So American Ninja had like 10, I think there were like 10 sequels, but the first 3 or 4 were like iconic in Australia. Like it was, you couldn't hire it at the video store because it was just this thing about, was it Michael Vidakov? I think was his name, the actor.
I don't
Vidakov,
remember.
maybe? Yeah. So that's a similar, like that would make a great pinball.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Sonic, you got video games, you got movies. I just think if anyone was sitting in a boardroom and was like, pitch this idea and they said, oh, it's too risky, are out of touch. Because it just has everything you want in secret sauce of, successful pinball. Especially, I guess if you're Stern and you're making like 5,000 games, maybe. It may be a bit of a niche, but even that, I mean, everyone knows this film. Everyone. So I'd be surprised. Talk me through this little doodle sketch on the napkin here.
So this is actually the sketch after the cocktail napkin. The original cocktail napkin sketch I sent you had some art, and the layout was similar, except it was flipped. So the original idea that I sketched during my meeting when I should have been working was essentially what this was, but backwards. So this was more refined after I had run all the inserts and stuff through Adobe Illustrator. So you can still see the pop bumper. I had 5 star rollovers and a horseshoe. I took it down to 2. I added a captive ball, a couple of other little differences, but this was, about 75% of the layout that I wanted. And I knew it had to have, the right kinds of modes, the right kinds of multi-balls. Code wise, when I did Friday the 13th, that game had 23 modes, tons of multi-balls, tons of moments. Nobody saw it at TPF because number one, the game is super hard, and everything that I had coded in there was deeper into the game. So I coded it for a home player who would actually buy this game. Nobody saw the things that I was trying to do. So for Big Trouble in Little China, there's the cocktail napkin sketch. So this was the first drawing that I did in my mind with, the Wild Man. You got Low Pan. So you can see all of my modes survived except for Lords of Death. So I've got 6 modes. Most of my monster battles and multi-balls survived. The truck, I took the truck off and I put Low Pan front and center, and the truck became the cabinet. So for this game, the way I coded it is if somebody plays it, they may never get to play this game again. Like they're at a show. Yep. So I wanted to give them as much as I could in that 2 to 3 minute game that they're going to have. I wanted them to fight a monster. I wanted to get a multi-ball. I wanted to experience a lot of light shows. And I tried to do that as best as I could. So there were a couple of things that I was super jazzed about that nobody saw because they were a bit deeper, but most of the stuff was kind of front and center.
That's a really interesting comment because I actually remember hearing the guys that did Mad Max say this, that when they first brought the game to one of the shows, a lot of people had queued up for like an hour, and then their 3 balls lasted like a couple minutes because of how hard the game was. So they had to make tweaks to give people at the next show a better experience because these people are taking an hour or 2 hours out of their time at an expo to line up and play your game, right? Yep. And I think you're right. There's that balance of finding they're never going to play this again unless it obviously gets picked up by manufacturer. But, letting them experience in that 3 to 5 minutes, something pretty memorable for them. Some people were telling me that Predator apparently only had 1 ball just to get through the people, right? To try. And look, I get it. It is like I was talking to Retro Ralph and he said he didn't even get to play this game because he goes, every time I went over there was just 80 people lining up waiting to play it.
Yeah. I didn't, all the podcast and YouTube guys didn't play my game because there was a line, they've got their job to do. But I had a hard time at Expo because I'm so excited about this game and I want to tell people what to shoot for and what to do. But these people also just want to play and experience it, right? So, sometimes I would go and hit this, and they're like, go away, weirdo, let me play my game. Steve Bowden was in line, and if you've never seen him play, it's something to see. So one of my favorite memories from Expo was Steve waited in line. He And when he walked up, I said, Steve, do you want me to walk you through some of the shots? He goes, no, I'm gonna let the game talk to me, which I thought was a really interesting thing to say. So he does this thing. He blows up the game. He got pretty deep into it. And after his game, he goes, okay. And he got right back in line. And he waited again, and he played it again. That was super cool. Again, I really enjoyed seeing people play, and those moments that I have spent just months kind of agonizing over and call outs and light shows, to see it all come together and to watch people smile was just so cool.
And I'm going to throw this one out there. How was this moment? Mr. Roger Sharp playing your game.
Oh yeah. Roger was just such a genuine guy to talk to. And we had several conversations, and he was just, he was a joy to watch play. He was a joy to connect with. And when Roger plays, people stop what they're doing and watch. This video of him playing the game, I think, blew up. It's like at 80,000 views or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think the captions video this is something you don't see every day. Roger Sharp playing Big Trouble in Little China, and just from my perspective as this niche hobbyist who does this for fun, that was a moment. That was really cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Roger has this thing about this, apart from everyone knows what he's done, but he has an energy about him. I've never met him in person, but I've seen interviews, and he's just such a likable person. Absolutely. That it's anything that he kind of touches, you just kind of get in awe at, like watching him talk or watching him play a game. So have you ever thought about, like, with homebrew, because like manufacturers, even like Spooky, right? They're like, we can make a game. We don't need a company to make it for us. Through the process of creating this game, have you kind of gone, I reckon if I had the money or the backing that I could manufacture this, like that your company could ultimately make a game like this, 100 of them or 500 of them, or is it just too much of a task, I guess?
I'm going to answer you very honestly. I do this for fun. I love it. I have a job that I'm fortunate enough provides me with some disposable income, and I'm able to take care of my kids. Being involved with the industry comes with its own, set of challenges. And when you build these custom games, you're almost separated from that, and you just get to participate in the fun part. So for the time being, what I'm able to do and bring to these shows really is worth it, just because I love the process of building. I love the creation. I love the art, the geometry, the strategy, and then bringing what you have toiled over to a show and to have people connect with it just is so special, and it's so cool. So to answer your question, no, there's likely no part of this that will translate into my professional life for the future, but I do plan to continue to do this. It's just too much fun.
What made you, and I probably should ask you at the beginning, what made you even get into homebrew? Like, what made you make Friday the 13th? Like, were just things that you wanted that you just hadn't seen?
Yeah. So I'm one of those people where I don't really like to talk about stuff. I just go do it. Right.
Yep.
So I've been in the hobby for probably about 15 years. I bought my first game on Craigslist. I didn't know how to turn it on. I thought it was broken. So I got it home. I'm like, the game doesn't work. So I called the guy. I'm like, this game is broken. He goes, you have to turn it on. I said, how do you do that? Turned it on. It was an F14. Turned it on. The lights came on, and that was it. I was done. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. So I, built up my collection. I'm limited with space and funds, so I really only have 5, 6, 7 games at a time. And I started to restore games. There was a local operator. He would bring me a roach game, and I would fix it. And I started to learn how to fix games. And then it got to the point where I enjoyed working on them more than playing them. And I still love to play. And I said, well, what's next? And there was this guy named Ernie Silverberg with Trident Pinball, and he was offering kits, homebrew kits. He's like, hey, if you've ever thought about, making your own game, I'm doing these kits. And I was his first customer. I'm like, bruh, what do I need? And we kind of worked through that process. And, I got a piece of wood, and I started gluing stuff, and I'm like, this is the thing. So my goal with Friday the 13th was to have a game that looked like a commercial game, with a clear-coated playfield, with a nice cabinet. Looking back at I've got the game now. I'm going to take it to the Houston show next month. There's a lot of things.
No.
Oh, I should have done this and I should have done that, but you can't beat yourself up. So that's how I got into it. Is I got to a point creatively where I was ready to take that next step.
And do you find that with, like, for me, I've been doing this a while, and there's themes that one of them, I'll just say, is Fifth Element, that I would love to see as a pinball. And I was like, okay, I don't think I could make a game, but maybe I could retheme one. And then even that, you look at the retheming, which a lot of the work's already been done for you. You just have to essentially redo the art and the code.
Yeah.
And I just was so overwhelmed that in the end, I just I was like, I just hope someone makes the game.
Yeah.
Is it as challenging and as intimidating as what people actually think?
It's not easy, but it's not impossible. So with the games, and I'm not going to speak for anybody who elects to not make a game or to retheme a game or to make their own game. My opinion is that when you go to a show, you want to experience something new. So when you step up to Friday the 13th or Big Trouble in Little China, this is a layout that you've never shot before. Now, I'm not saying that my layouts are going to, change the pinball world, but that was a choice. I wasn't out to reinvent the wheel. I wanted shots that I thought were fun, that were satisfying. So there are folks who homebrew who will do a retheme, and that's awesome. Certainly, it's a different challenge to come up with your own layout, right? Because that takes a lot of effort. Clearly, I'm not very advanced. I don't CAD the whole project. I am a roll up your sleeves and just shoot it till it feels good type of a guy. But it was important to me to have an original layout.
One of the things that I really liked when I saw the trailer was the display, right? So what we can see here at the moment, we have, and I've never been to America, so I can't comment, but in Australia, there's very stereotypical, especially in the 90s, there was a lot of kind of stereotypical Chinese restaurants that had that very similar decor to the layout, or like the red ribbon around the edges there. So, that screams kind of, it's kind of Chinese themed in a way. Did you, like, getting obviously all this information on the screen is important. You don't want to overwhelm people like some manufacturers tend to have it do. Like, that balance, like, who's actually come up with this layout and done this for you?
So I did this, and I'll tell you that this wasn't an accident. What you're seeing now, what I have in the final game, is probably version 75.
Wow.
It started with just like I took a screenshot of a scene from the movie, and I had a score. And I'm like, well, what does a player need to know right now? And then I started to incorporate different elements, and I wanted the screen to feel alive. With Friday the 13th, it was fairly static. There wasn't a lot of movement. So this base screen, everything is moving. You've got lightning that's moving. It's actively raining. The lights are turning off and on. The brides on the left and the right are blinking their eyes and they're breathing. So what does a player need to know? So I'm Jack Burton, and I have to fight Lopan. What do I have to do to fight Lopan? I got to do 3 things. I have to do all my monster battles, and that's on the left-hand side there at the bottom. Those are the shots you have to make: cap to ball, drops, and stand-ups to fight the monsters. On the right side, I have to do 6 missions. There's 3 easy missions, 2 medium missions, and a hard mission. I also have to spell magic to start Darkest Magic Multi-Ball, and that's at the top. How do you spell magic? You get skill shots, ramps, spinners. So those are kind of your supers. So as a player, I know my progress to get to the end. Also, as a side quest, the 6 demon bag scene, if you've seen the movie, this is the magic potion that they drink to fight the bad guys. It just makes them feel awesome, makes them feel invincible. So I did that with switch hits. So it's 150 switch hits. And then at the end of that, you qualify a shot. It's only good for a couple of seconds. If you make it, you're invincible. You have a ball saver and you get points. If you miss it, Lopan punishes you. He'll punish you with reverse flippers. He'll punish you. He'll turn your lights out. He'll take away your score. So again, this is a battle. You are battling to get to the end. So to capture that on the base screen just took a lot of work and a lot of walks around my neighborhood and a lot of troubleshooting and a lot of kind of teasing out what felt good. And I'll share with you real quick that I didn't know if any of this was going to land. I didn't know if it was going to work. Nobody played this game. Like my wife and kids don't play pinball. They don't care. This is dad's thing, and he's up in the basement, or he's up in the second floor doing his thing. So I brought it to Expo, and I'm like, well, I sure hope people like this game. And I open it up, and here comes Kerry Hardy, and he's got his, rig, and he's like, oh, is this the Big Trouble game? I went, yeah, I just need to test switches, but if you want to play it. So he was he was the first person to ever play it other than me. But to watch the kind of response and the people see what the game was about was pretty cool.
Look, it's been so interesting kind of talking to people that got to play it, and even the people that haven't, that just got to stand back and watch people play it.
Yeah.
He said you could tell it's a game that, like, it doesn't matter that it wasn't designed by like an Elwyn or, anyone like that. It just ticked all the boxes, and you could see people enjoyed that element of it, and people were drawn in. The call outs, they said, are really cool. So the call outs is the character. It's the guy that is on the journey with Kurt Russell, right? I always forget the character's name.
So Wang is really the main character of the movie, right? Kurt Russell is a sidekick, but in the pinball experience, you're Jack Burke. So the person providing the call outs is James Pax. That's a guy on the topper. So it's not Wang. James Pax is just he's connected with the movie, and I like to make games that are connected to the franchise in some respects. So Friday the 13th had 6 of the original actors from that series provide call-outs. With this one, James is just kind of talking you through what shots to do. So he's not necessarily your sidekick helping you. He's just kind of that voice in the sky steering you.
Oh, yeah, he was one of the 3 guys with the big hats. That's right.
He was one of the storms.
Yeah.
So the storms were rain, thunder, and lightning. He played lightning.
Yeah, that's right. And did he record those? Like, did you just give him like information and he recorded them himself, or did he meet up with you to do it, or how was that process?
I sent him a script and he read the script. There you go. So I knew, what the rules were at that point, and I knew what he should say to kind of get the player to his or her shots where they needed to make. So yeah, I just wrote the script out, sent it to him, and he got it back to me in like 2 days.
Yeah, wow, that's impressive. I'm a huge Scott Danesi fan. Like, I love anything Scott does. I've got his games. Rick and Morty kills me, but it still gets me going for more. I love TNA. I've got his Final Resistance as well on the P3. How did you? I mean, did you have an idea of the style, or did Scott, because Scott knows the film, did he just run with it?
So he's probably not as familiar with the film as I was. Like, what is that? I don't get it. So I chatted with him at one of the shows. I'm like, and I think at Friday the 13th, I'm like, hey man, I'm working on this game. Do you think you might be interested? And he's like, yeah, maybe I'm busy. So I reached out to him later. I'm like, dude, I know you're and this was months in advance. This was probably 4 or 5 months before Expo. I'm like, if you're able to make this happen, I would love it. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. So what I had asked for was a couple of custom tracks, and what he did as well is he equalized all of the music in the game to kind of make it the same level, which made it super easy for me to go in and kind of develop that sound package. So he was able to do 2 custom tracks for the game. And again, I asked, I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. It probably helped that I had a game under my belt, so I'm not just kind of random weirdo who's gluing stuff in his garage. So I said, I would love to have your music in the game. So he's got a custom track in one of the modes and Darkest Magic multi-ball. And I said, what I'd like for you to, so I sent him all the music that I was using for the game. I said, this is kind of the jumping off point. It was a lot of the music from the movie, and I think I had 1 or 2 royalty-free kind of techno-y tracks for the multi-balls. I said, this is the vibe that I'm going for, kind of a Far East, high energy experience. And of course, he's Scott Danesi, so he just killed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, anything. I've got all these tracks on my Tidal account that I listen to in the car occasionally.
Oh, they're great.
So yeah, great. And I hope we get to listen to some of these tracks as well, because it's hard to hear even on one of the streams I was showing before. It's very hard to hear the noise.
Yeah, it's super challenging at shows to get the sound right. I've people told me the game was too loud. People told me they couldn't hear the game. I mean, you can't really win, so you do the best you can.
Whereabouts in the US are you located?
I'm in Houston right now, so I built the most of the game in Virginia. We moved as I was building the game, so I lost about 2 or 3 months just with the move with the game packed up. So we're in Houston now.
So we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to send someone to come and play the game, record it, and then we can post it on the channel. I may see if Jamie isn't Jamie in Houston. Jamie Burchell, pretty sure
I'm
he's in
not sure.
Houston.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I'll have
sure.
to ask him. Because a lot of people have said, "Oh, see if you can get just footage of like the game playing and nobody talking and no sounds." It's like, well, I'm sure we'll see that eventually.
Yeah, we'll get there.
The center post was a bit of a talk. A lot of people were like, "Oh, there's a center post, but it's chunky and it looks like it moves." Right? So you control that with the action button. Talk me through that.
So one of my favorite games is Medusa. I love Medusa, and I just stole it from Medusa. There you go.
Yeah.
With Medusa, it was called the Shield of the Gods, and you control it with a second right flipper button, and it just launches the ball back up the playfield. So modern players are used to kind of a center, that center smash button, right?
Yeah.
So what was important to me was that you have the tools available to you to fight back against drains. And I'm like, well, what can I do in the center? Oh, do the center post. So with Friday the 13th, I had a drop target, which works sometimes. If you get a super fast ball, it'll bounce off. A slow moving ball will just knock it down and it's done. So with this one, you have to time it right. And what I need to do for the next time it's at a show is have a label that says use the center launch button to use the center kickback, because people aren't used to this. They don't know what it is. So once, I talked to a couple of players like, hey, if you want to, like, you could have saved that ball, you just got to slap it. And they go, oh, okay. And then the base screen will track how many kickbacks you have. So right now at the current code, you have 2 left kickbacks per ball and 2 center kickbacks per ball. And in future code updates, like with the mystery, you can get more kickbacks, or, with bonuses or whatever.
And the system is built on fastboards?
Yes.
And the code?
The code is from Mission Pinball Framework, MPF, which is pretty much what all the homebrew guys use. It's an open source way for people who don't know how to code. It's not easy. It's a steep learning curve. I have no coding background. I never coded anything in my life before I started Friday the 13th. But once you kind of get the hang of it, you just have to think about things differently with MPF. Everything is based off of an event. This event happens and it cues this event and this event. So, I mean, once you get like a shot going, then you just build off of that. Then you can add a sound to it. Then you can add a light show. Then you can put it in a mode, and then you can do a carousel. So you can select modes, et cetera, and it just builds from there.
One of the, forget her name. I'm terrible with bloody names. The lady that did The Greatest Showman, she said, I have no coding experience and I'm female. And it's like, she's like, so if I can do it, anyone can do it. And that was really wholesome of her to kind of go, it is doable, right? It is doable. So I thought I'd just show you a bit more gameplay quickly. Was there anything that you wish you had done that either didn't make it or you didn't think of until someone gave you some feedback? Or are you very happy with the way it is?
I'm pretty happy in its current condition. There are obviously, a game is never done. It's abandoned. So there's always something that I can add to it. There were a couple of, things that I can add in the future to make sure the balls don't get trapped, stuff like that. But as far as code, the code is where I wanted it for this show. Now, if this game, like if I was coding it just to be in somebody's house, then I would go a lot deeper. And I think a lot of those moments would probably be baked in a little bit further into the game rather than right up front. And I've got tons of other ideas for ways to like open up the game with all kinds of crazy stuff. But again, if the intent is to bring this to a show, folks are likely not going to experience that. So in our little community, they call it Expo code. So I'll probably have home code that goes super deep. It's going to take a while to get there. And then I'll have Expo code, which, modes are easier, things pop out sooner, and it's easier to get the finish.
That's a really clever way of doing it, because like you said, at Expo, there's not a lot of time. People queue up for ages, and giving them the best experience. From Vic VP's footage here, the game, like, it has good flow. Like, one of the comments a few people have said is that the shots feel like butter. Is that something that you were surprised yourself, even though, like even you said, you're not a pinball designer and you just sketched it on a napkin? Did you have changed those shots much, or did you nail them pretty much straight away?
So I'd rather be lucky than good. And I'll tell you that a lot of the shots, a lot of the flow was a happy accident. But that's not to say that I just started gluing stuff on the playfield. And I was like, I hope this works. I played this game nonstop for a year and a half. And I agonized over things that people will never notice or see to make sure that you don't feel that clunk, that the ball just doesn't go haywire and, jump over plastic or whatever. So I credit a little bit to luck and a lot of preparation, right? I went through a lot of metal. I went through a lot of plastic, a lot of wood glue, a lot of the emotional distress and triumph and heartache and all of the things to make a game that I just thought would be really fun to shoot with approachable, familiar shots.
I wanted to ask you about, I'm glad that I saw this. This is the mode selector on the screen where it's got the VCR and the TV. I thought that was a really cool
I've got some Easter eggs there in the little VCR section that nobody picked up on. I was hoping that somebody would catch some of that. But the VCR says easy, and then as you go through the modes, it's medium and then hard. And then all of the movies there tell a story. But I'll keep my trap shut. Maybe somebody will catch it on their show.
So yeah, look, I think it's fantastic. I just was in awe when I saw the trailer, and I was just like, man, I was meant to be coming to Expo, and it wasn't like, it was more the thing that I was probably disappointed the most was like, I'm not going to get to see this game. I was like, and and really loving the movie. I was like, oh man. And I was like, I'm sure we'll see plenty of footage and plenty of content. So, and I'd reach out to you before Expo, and I was like really hoping we could chat before, but I fully understood that you were flat out, obviously.
Yeah, thanks for I was hauling the mail to get the game in a position where I thought it would be ready for the crowd.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm so glad we're going to see it at the Houston Expo. When's that? It's in a couple of weeks?
So Friday 13th will be at Houston, and the plan is to take both of my games, Friday 13th and Big Trouble, to TPF. So
TPF. Nice.
So I'm gonna let Lopan rest for the Houston show. I'm gonna bring Jason out. And in fact, the playfield's up right now. I'm adding a couple of things to that now. So
nice.
By TPF, hopefully I'll have incorporated some of those things that maybe I thought it could need with some extra, light shows, maybe some call outs and some other fun stuff.
Well, I know that multiple people told me that there was pinball manufacturers that played your game, and I hope to God someone contacts you and says, we want to make this. And I hope it gets made, because I know a lot of people that would buy it. It's captivating. And the fact that it's based on what most of us want, which is an 80s or 90s film. So many people I know, Blade Runner and Fifth Element, they would sell so many, and it's just the key to successful pinball. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. Is there anything you want to say before we finish up or add that we've missed?
No, I appreciate the time. Thanks for having me on. And just I'm so glad that the custom game homebrew community has kind of gone from the shadowy corner at shows with like one or two games to where it's now the centerpiece of these shows. The homebrew booth won best booth at Expo. TPF was incredible. Expo was incredible. It's only getting bigger, and I would say that's due to the tremendous amount of resources that we have that weren't available a couple of years ago. So I can't imagine trying to build a game a couple of years ago where you didn't have a lot of the boards and the software and the resources. So you see this, tremendous outpouring of support and resources that allow people with the time and the creativity to build these games. So I'm just so glad that this game connected with people. I had such a blast building it. I had a blast putting it out there, and I'm hard at work on the next one.
I was going to say exactly what you said about the homebrew. The homebrew is the foundations of pinball where we are today. A lot of the pinball manufacturers have homebrew guys in there that, Elwin and Danger and people that, That's where it all started. And without the community, right, it's all about the community. Where would we be in this hobby? And it's all about the community growing the hobby and seeing homebrew. I saw like a footage where it panned out and you saw how big the homebrew section was. And that was really cool because I think it takes a lot of time and energy, and these people have full-time jobs, and they're doing it for nothing. And it's pure about the passion for this crazy hobby that we all like, that is extremely expensive and takes up a lot of space.
You nailed it.
But look, thank you very much. And guys, look, like and subscribe. Please head over to Kyle. You've got a YouTube channel as well that has all your stuff on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have like a couple of videos. I don't have a big social media presence, but I did upload my trailers to my YouTube channel. I think I've got like 5 videos total. So I'm not a prolific social media guy, but yeah, if you want to see those trailers, check there. And then a bunch of other folks have streamed the game. So I might do a stream maybe before TPF just to kind of show off some of the new stuff. We'll see.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll end it there. Like and subscribe. I'll see if I can get someone to come and play this game if you let them come over.
No,
and see if we can get some content for the channel. And yeah, we'll take it from there. And thank you very much. We'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks for having me on.